everybody, my name is Offbeat Outlaw, and welcome to a brand new video. I can't swear in the first 15 seconds. Welcome to a brand new gosh diddly darn video. There we go. Goddamn nailed it. Get some popcorn. Hello, my name is Offbeat Outlaw, and I am a Dungeons and Dragons nerd. I've been DMing now very consistently every single week for about 4 years, multiple games a week, playing in multiple games a week. TTRPGs are a large part of what I do and what I spend most of my time doing. And the level for which I have the most experience is level 20. This is a level for which I think most people I know have the least, if not zero, experience. Level 20 is amongst some of the hardest stuff to DM in Dungeons and Dragons. I would argue that it is the hardest to DM in an effective manner. So how do you do this? Well, welcome to Level 20 DM Bootcamp, a series that I'm going to be doing off and on in the future. If this does well, if you guys are more interested, if you guys have questions, leave them in the comments below, or submit them to me personally on my Patreon. That is right, if you are a patron, you can start submitting to me things you want me to cover for Level 20 DM Bootcamp. Link in the description. It is $3 a month, and you get to see all of my videos 24 hours early. I would highly, highly recommend it. And also, you just get to look cooler than your friends. You get to be like,
oh my god, did you see the new Offbeat Outlaw video?
Oh my god, no I didn't. How did you see it?
Oh, I'm a patron, you fucking idiot. You loser. You gosh diddly darn stanko.
I'm sure that's how you guys talk to your friends. Anyway, Level 20 DM Bootcamp, that starts today. How do you DM for Level 20? First thing we're going to cover, how to build a monster. First thing you're going to do is you're going to go and get your monster manual. Alright? Go grab your monster manual, and then fucking... You don't need it. It's worthless. I spilled my popcorn. I'm so dumb. This is what I get for trying to do bits, guys. Geo, I'm gonna have to waste Geo's time. I'm so sorry. How's my ass though? Anyway, so as it turns out, the monster manual is actually highly ineffective to help you actually make monsters for high level. In D&D, supposedly, the highest challenge rating that you can fight is a CR 30. And that is supposed to be represented by the Tarrasque. The Tarrasque with a Q. CR 30, challenge rating of 30. Okay, this is supposed to be that if you threw a full party of level 20s at this thing, they would die to the Tarrasque. Which we all know is a fucking joke. Because a single Aarakocra with a magical longbow can beat a Tarrasque because it's got absolutely no ranged options. But anyway, it's got an armor class of 25. That's good. That's a good armor class. It's got 676 hit points. That is pitifully low. 4 fighters could kill this in a round. Damage immunities: fire, poison, bludgeoning, and piercing from non-magical attacks. Condition immunities: charmed and frightened. This means it takes full damage from slashing and bludgeoning of magical attacks, which means that, once again, a party of 5 fighters can slaughter this thing in a round. Just get 5 Eldritch Knights, and they can psychic damage the Tarrasque down into nothing. Alright, legendary resistances. Magic resistance. Reflective Carapace. Anytime the Tarrasque is targeted by a magic missile spell, a line spell, or a spell that requires a ranged attack roll a d6. 1 to 5, it's unaffected. On a 6, it's unaffected, and the spell is reflected. Okay, that seems pretty good. Until you realize that you can just disintegrate it. Because it's got a dex of 11. You can just disintegrate it. It's got a multi-attack, it's got a swallow, it's got frightful presence, and it's got some legendary actions. The Tarrasque is abysmally terrible. CR 30, challenge rating in general, dog shit fucking metric. Worthless metric if you are actually trying to be threatening at level 20 play. How do I know this? I have DM'd level 20 for probably the most hours, including Wizards of the Coast executives. I don't think a single Wizards of the Coast executive or person or game dev has actually DM'd for level 20 for longer than a one-shot. I have been DMing for the last year, the year prior, on and on and on. I think about level 20, I breathe level 20. The Tarrasque is an embarrassment on level 20 play. So what the fuck do I own the monster manual for? Well, it's got some good pictures. Additionally, there is a principle from the Tarrasque that we can borrow. It does enough damage. The damage that you should be capable of dealing is enough to kill another party member. When you are making your CR 30 monster that can actually threaten a level 20 party, you should be enough to kill someone in a single round, including legendary actions, breath weapon style abilities, or recharge style abilities. Including all that stuff, you should be able to kill a party member. Down them, I should say. Not actually kill them, but down them. Get them to 0 hit points. Why should you be able to do this? Because that's how the game works. The game is built around you being threatening. You don't have to down the person that you're targeting, but you do have to be able to apply that level of pressure. Level 20 parties otherwise will steamroll your fights. You need to be able to apply that level of pressure, or you will simply fail. So we know how much damage your monster should do now. What next? Well, how much armor should it have? Honestly, I think an armor of 25 is a bit high. It doesn't need to be impossible to hit, but it does need fuckloads more hit points. Here's how many hit points that you should give your level 20 monster, okay? What you're gonna do, it's a little bit of homework, but you're gonna go and look at all of your players' character sheets. You should be reading your players' character sheets regularly to be making these kinds of checks. You should know what they have so that you can actually design fights that challenge your players. Okay? Read your players' character sheets and analyze how much damage can they output over the course of several rounds. In round 1, for example, a level 20 wizard, an evocation wizard, can deal 500 damage because they get a simulacrum for free every single day. They can deal 500 damage by themselves, and they can deal nearly 1,000 damage if they multi-class into fighter, and they can deal over 1,000 damage if they multi-class again into warlock. So, if a single party member can deal 1,000 damage by themselves, how many hit points should you be giving your monster? 4 times that. You should be giving them 4,000 fucking hit points. Not everyone in your party can deal that kind of damage for sure, but it needs at least more than 1,000. And if that sounds ridiculous to you, you haven't DM'd at level 20. Now, most people, this is obviously for a wizard who is heavy speccing into DPS, but you should be looking at your players' hit points and how much damage they can deal in a round. The average player who's not even that focused on damage should be capable of dealing 100 to 150 damage if they use a resource that round. Fighters can deal on average 100 to 150. A paladin can deal on average somewhere from, I believe, 70 to 80. Warlocks can deal about 80 damage. Wizards can deal about 100 to 500 damage. You get the point I'm trying to make. Calculate how much they can deal and then extrapolate outwards. If they just dump every ability into it every round, how long does this thing survive? And if your answer is less than 2 rounds, maybe you should consider something else. But also, 2 rounds is fine for high level play. You know why? Because rounds last a lot longer in level 20 than they do level 5 through 10. You want your fights to be quick because there's so many things that are happening. After everyone's turn, the creature gets a legendary action. At initiative count 20, the lair action triggers. Minions might show up. That round, that single 6 seconds of combat, quote unquote, can last anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour because of all the triggers. And if your players are bored during that, you can probably speed things up, as well as players should be keeping track of everything on their turn, because they should be challenged about what they're going to do. What abilities do they spend? What resources do they spend? On what, when, and where? All this to say, your creature should have enough hit points to last the rounds. There's no exact number. It just needs to last the amount of rounds that you want it to. If that is 1 round, okay, calc out how much they can deal in a single round. That's probably about 600 hit points. That's how much the Tarrasque would last anyway. If you want it to last more, give it about 600 to 800 hit points. If you want it to last even further, consider giving it a mythic action. Consider adding some resistances, some vulnerability, some immunities. That is how you stat it out. Don't just throw a number into the ether because you're guaranteed to probably be too low. Actually do some math. Calc out the average damage. But that is how many hit points it should have. So now we've discussed how much damage it should deal and how many hit points it has. What else should it have? This seems like it should be fine. Well, some of this is up to you at this point. You know that it should be dealing enough damage to down a player. Pull out your gun. You should be dealing enough damage that if it hits all of its attacks, that player character is down and unconscious. This does two things. One, another party member has to revive them. They have to bring them back up from 0 hit points, which wastes their action. You've wasted effectively 2 action points. You're up an action economy. That's what it's about. Then at the start of your turn, you can focus on the other one, bring them down, and they're constantly having to revive them in this rotation. This is how you can start to win fights and apply pressure to your players. Now keep in mind, you're the DM, you're supposed to lose. So at some point, you gotta fuck up. At some point, maybe you target the wrong person, or maybe you miss. Either way, you gotta fuck up eventually, you're going to fuck up eventually, and that's when the players win, take the reins off of you. They have infinitely more advantages than you do, so they are going to take them every single time. Chocolate milk is so fucking good, dude. So, it's dealing enough damage, it's got enough hit points, what else does it need? Well, here are some suggestions. Counterspell and Dispel Magic. Your reaction is going to be basically useless. No one's moving out to get opportunity attacked. Nobody is going to do that. There's no point in giving it Sentinel. There's no point in giving it these extra bullshit feats. Just give it Counterspell and Dispel Magic, bare minimum. A lot of people overlook these spells, or they don't want to include them because they think they're stupid or it's weird. Just include them. It's fine. It's fine that these spells exist. They do exist in the game, and if you don't have them, the game was built around them existing. Counterspell is to avoid the players from getting off their big spells that give them advantages early. Dispel Magic is to get rid of effects that are currently fucking you over. You need those in order to keep initiative in the fight, and if you give your creature a legendary action that allows them to cast spells, they can use Dispel Magic in order to keep pace and not just get swallowed by effects. Because if you're face staring down a wizard with Spirit Shroud, an Eldritch Knight with Shadow Blade, surrounded by spike growths, and have a fucking meteor swarm bearing down on you, I can guarantee that that creature is more fucked than your mom. Hey, yo. That creature's gonna die and they're not gonna get to do anything. Counterspell, you keep that reaction up so that you can stop people from doing bullshit to you. Get Dispel Magics ready in order to lose tempo in the fight. Give them minions that can also do this. I recommend at least 1 to 2, just so that you don't get swarmed by effects. And don't be afraid to counterspell the Warlock's Eldritch Blast. Fuck them for having so many. So you know how much damage your creature can deal, okay? Can down a player. Awesome. Round 1, it downs a player, loses about half of its hit points because you want it to survive 2 rounds, activates its mythic action, it's got its legendary action, but your players are still looking fine. How is this challenging? Well, here's the kicker. This is something that you should be doing that D&D doesn't really do on standard, and that is residual damage effects, okay? Say it with me now, residual damage effects. I have included something like this in my games called stacks. If you want a full breakdown of what that is and how that works, check out the video in the description where I go over my own TTRPG that I've been making that utilizes this condition system. But that's how I do it. I do it by giving people a number that they track. At the end of the turn, they will either take damage because of the number rolled or whatever. Like, give them some type of residual damage effect. That effect should deal anywhere from 25% to 50% of the player character's health. It should deal enough that if they got hit a few times, they would be dropped dead. The pressure is on. It's all about providing that pressure. That's what makes a strong fight. It's the pressure, not the actual damage or effect, that makes fights good. Fights are good when the threat is there, when the pressure, the overwhelming effect could possibly kill them, but doesn't necessarily have to. That is what it's about. I highly recommend that you start doing this in your games. Give them some way to feel the effects of residual damage. Whether it's if they fail a save, they take damage at the end of their turn, whether they just take a consistent amount of damage at the end of their turn, whether it's if they start their turn in an area, if they take a certain action, if they cast a spell, give them something, because that will continue to put the pressure on them even when the creature's ire isn't directed at them. They could breath weapon this way, but they're still getting fucked because fire damage happened nearby. Give them stuff like that and they will feel the pressure of level 20 combat. So, your creature should have enough hit points, it should be dealing enough damage, it should have counterspell and dispel magic, you've got some residual damage effects, and what do you know? You have yourself an actually threatening level 20 D&D fight. Now, I know a lot of this was vague, but that's because I'm trying to give you guys tools. I'm not trying to tell you guys how to do this. I'm trying to give you guys the toolbox to actually build these fights yourself. Everything else you add on top of what I've given you is flavor, it's guff, it's more things for the players to enjoy and tantalize their eyes with. But little do they know, it's all the same engine underneath that car. Every Volkswagen's got the same engine, but they all look so very different, don't they? The point of this is that you can put this at the core of your design philosophy so that when you actually start running these fights, the fights feel threatening. And with that, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos like this, please be sure to let me know in the comments below. Let me know more things you want me to cover about level 20 D&D. Any questions you have, any queries you have. Join the Patreon if you want to ask directly and for me to guarantee to give you a response, whether it's in the message or make a whole video about get the fuck out of my house.